Welcome to Wisdom Trek with Gramps. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, and we are on day 2700 of our trek. The purpose of Wisdom Trek is to create a legacy of wisdom, to seek out discernment and insights, and to boldly grow where few have chosen to grow before. In today's Wisdom Nugget, it's titled, The Heart's Hardness, a Plea for Unwavering Loyalty, and it's concluding our trek through Psalm chapter 81 with verses 8 through 16. Today we've reached a powerful and poignant conclusion of our trek through Psalm 81 in the New Living Translation. In our last conversation, we began Psalm 81 with a vibrant celebratory call for worship, a joyous festival meant for perpetual reminder of God's deliverance. The psalmist then recounts a dramatic shift in God's direct voice, recalling his mighty acts of removing the burdens from your shoulders and freeing Israel from their hands from the heavy baskets. Those were the baskets of slavery in Egypt in Psalm chapter 81 verse 6. We heard how God answered their cry in the hidden place of thunder, the awe-inspiring mountain of Sinai, where he gave them the law. Now God's direct address continues, moving from remembrance of his saving acts to a strong command for exclusive loyalty and a heartbreaking lament over his people's persistent disobedience. This section is a profound expression of God's own heart, revealing his deep desire for a relationship of trust and his sorrow over their stubborn rebellion. It's a culmination of a beautiful, almost wistful promise of bountiful blessings that they would have received if only they had listened. So let's listen carefully today, not just to the words, but to the yearning heart of God as he pleads for his people. We'll first read verses 8 through 10. Listen to me, O my people, if you would listen only to me, O Israel. You must never have a foreign god. You must not worship a foreign god. For I am the Lord your God, who rescued you out of the land of Egypt. Open your mouth wide, and I will fill it with good things. God's voice begins with an urgent, repeated, and intimate plea. Listen to me, O my people, if you would only listen to me, O Israel. This repetition, if only you would listen to me, expresses a profound, almost desperate desire for his people to pay attention. He is calling them as my people and Israel, using covenant names that signifies their special chosen relationship with him. This is not a voice of a distant commander, but of a personal God who yearns for his people's attention and obedience. The command that follows is absolutely foundational to their covenant. You must never have a foreign god. You must not worship a foreign god. This is the first and second commands of the Ten Commandments in Exodus chapter 20, verses 2 and 3. God demands exclusive loyalty and allegiance. In the ancient Near East, it was common for people to worship multiple gods, adding a new god to their pantheon whenever they encountered a new nation or experienced a new need. The God of Israel forbade this practice completely. He is not one God among many. He is the one true God, and he demands our sole worship. The existence of a foreign god is a direct violation to their covenant, a deep betrayal of their relationship. God's command here is a direct confrontation with the kind of idolatry that was a constant temptation and persistent sin for Israel, as recounted in so many of the historical Psalms, like Psalm 78. The reason for exclusive loyalty is then given, rooted in God's saving power. For I am the Lord your God, who rescued you from the land of Egypt. This is a definitive statement of God's identity and his claim on our allegiance. The Lord your God, which was Yahweh Elohim, emphasizes his personal and powerful relationship with them. He is the one who took the initiative to rescue them from the land of Egypt. This act of liberation was based on a covenant and moral foundation for their obedience. They are to worship him exclusively, not because he is just a strong God, but because he was their personal deliverer who freed them from the bondage of slavery. He is the God of their salvation. God then provides a tender promise of provision that is contingent on their loyalty. Open your mouths wide, and I will fill it with good things. This is a profound, almost parental image. It signifies an overwhelming, abundant provision that is ready and waiting for them. Open your mouth wide is an invitation to ask, to trust, to receive without limit. This implies that their lack is not due to God's inability, but to their own unwillingness to receive. If they would simply turn to him and trust him fully, he would fill them overflowing with good things, that is, blessings, sustenance, and well-being. This stands in stark contrast to their hunger in the wilderness, where they had to eat manna, the food of angels, but still demanded more, refusing to trust in God's sufficiency. Psalm 78, verses 24 and 25. Here, God promises to meet their every need. This section presents a powerful divine demand for exclusive loyalty, grounded in God's past redemptive acts and sealed with a promise of abundant provision. Let's move on to verses 11 through 16. But my people refused to listen to me. Israel would not obey. So I gave them over to their stubborn hearts to go their own way. Oh, that my people would listen to me. Oh, that Israel would follow my ways. How quickly I would then subdue their enemies. How soon my hand would be against their foes. Those who hate the Lord would cringe before him. Their punishment would last forever. But I would feed you with the finest of wheat. I would satisfy you with honey from the rock. After the beautiful promise of provision, God's voice turns to a heartbreaking lament over his people's rejection. But my people refused to listen to me. Israel would not obey. The but here introduces a tragic reality. Despite God's intimacy, his deliverance, his commands, and his promises, Israel made a choice. They refused to listen, and they would not obey. This is not just a lapse of judgment, but a deliberate and persistent act of rebellion. This is the same pattern of unfaithfulness that Asaph so carefully recounted in Psalm 78, where Israel constantly rebelled despite God's mighty acts, and here God himself gives voice to his sorrow over that rebellion. The consequences of this rebellion is a profound and painful act of divine judgment. So I gave them up to their stubborn hearts to go their own way. This is one of the most sobering statements in all of Scripture. God, in all his righteousness, allows people to experience the consequences of their choices. He gave them up, a painful release from his protective and guiding hand. The phrase, their stubborn hearts, the Hebrew word shur-shurat, literally means the stubbornness of their heart, a strong idiom of persistent, defiant will. God allows them to follow their own path, a path that he knows leads to ruin. This is not a malicious act from God, but a righteous consequence of their unyielding refusal to be guided by him. It is the ultimate expression of God's sorrowful respect for their free will. But the lament is immediately followed by a powerful, wistful, and almost heartbreaking expression of what could have been. Oh, that my people would have listened to me. Oh, that Israel would have followed my ways. The repetition of oh that, in the Hebrew as lu, expresses a deep and powerful yearning, a longing from the heart of God. He is not saying, I wish that they would so I could punish them. He is saying, I wish that they would so I could pour out my blessings on them. This is the voice of a longing father who desperately desires a relationship of trust and obedience with his children, not for his own benefit, but for theirs. God then details the blessings that would have been theirs if they had only listened. How quickly would I have subdued their enemies? How soon my hand would be against their foes? Those who hate the Lord would cringe before me. Their punishment would last forever. This first blessing is decisive victory. How quickly and how soon indicates that God's response would have been immediate and powerful. He would have subdued their enemies and turned his mighty hand against their foes. The enemies who hate the Lord, and by extension his people, would cringe before him. The Hebrew word kashah, to cringe as in feigned submission. A powerful expression of complete defeat. Their punishment would be eternal. This is a promise of a life free from oppression and constant threat, a promise of permanent peace and security under God's protection. A second blessing is one of miraculous overflowing abundance. I would have fed you with the finest wheat. I would have satisfied you with honey from the rock. God's provision is not just sufficient, it would be the finest of the wheat, the very best of the sustenance. An image of honey from the rock is a beautiful, almost impossible metaphor. Honey, a symbol of sweetness and blessing, does not come from a rock. This signifies a supernatural, unexpected, and delightful abundance. God would bring forth blessing even from barren, unlikely places. He would not just meet their needs, he would exceed to an unimaginable degree, filling them with joy and sweetness. This is a profound contrast between what they had, a life of stubbornness and a meager provision, and what they could have, a life of obedience and overflowing blessings. Psalm 78 in its entirety is a masterful, poignant lesson in the power and obedience and the tragedy of stubbornness. It moves from a vibrant call to celebration to a powerful reminder of God's deliverance and culminates in a heartbreaking plea from God for his people to listen, revealing his deep sorrow over their disobedience and a profound blessing that they have missed. What profound wisdom can we draw from these concluding verses from our Wisdom Trek today? Firstly, these verses remind us that God desires an exclusive, loyal relationship with us. We cannot serve God and foreign gods, whatever those idols may be in our lives today. He is our soul deliverer. He demands our soul devotion. Secondly, God promises to give them up to their stubborn hearts, a sober warning. When we persistently refuse to listen to God and go on our own way, there comes a point where He may allow us to experience the painful consequences of that choice for our ultimate good. Thirdly, the heartbreaking refrain, "Oh, that my people would listen to me," reveals God's tender heart. He longs for our obedience, not because He needs it, but because He knows it is a pathway to His protection. To His victory over our enemies, and to His overflowing abundant blessings. And finally, the promise of the finest wheat and honey from the rock is an enduring promise of God's intention for His people. He wants to give us the best, to satisfy us with supernatural blessings that defy the imagination. All that is required is a listening heart, a willing spirit, and commitment to follow His ways. Let us heed the plea from the heart of God, choosing to listen and obey, so that we may not miss out on the blessings that have been waiting for us. Thank you for joining me on this profound trek through the conclusion of Psalm 81. I trust that this exploration into God's heart for His people has resonated with your own journey and equipped you to listen to His voice with a willing heart. Join me again the next time as we begin a new segment on Wisdom Trek, continuing to uncover the timeless truths of God's Word. Until then, keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and create a great day every day. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, and leave a living legacy each day. I'll see you next time for more daily wisdom.